Hi guys, and welcome back to the Twisted Siblings podcast, episode I think 12. I don't know. It's getting into those numbers where I have to really question it. But we are sorry that this is slightly delayed, and we weren't our usual 7 a.m. on a Monday. Unfortunately, we do both live very busy lives with full-time jobs, so it is quite hard sometimes, not all the time, but occasionally to fit it in. So today, this week was just one of those weeks. And Ben and Connor actually did offer to stand in, and I do think that they're definitely going to be back because you seem to love them. However, today you have me and Kelly, we're back. And today it's my turn. And today I'm going to be doing the story of Amelia Dyer. So just before I start, I like to always ask you, do you know this one?
I
No?
don't think I do.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. I always like it when I don't know.
Yeah. We had a couple of comments on our Instagram asking to do more UK ones. So this is the one I found for this week. Just in case you're not aware, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we come out every Monday, 7 a.m. Unless there is any sort of delay, we will let you know. Normally on our Instagram, which is at the Twisted Siblings podcast. So yeah, you can find us there and you can comment on our posts. You can give us feedback. You can let us know if there's any true crime stories you want us to cover. I'm always up for looking into ones that I don't know about. Right, okay, without further ado, I'm just going to let you know this is your 10-second warning that listeners' discretion is definitely advised. In this episode, we'll be discussing very upsetting details, which will include children. So it doesn't go into too much detail, but obviously, as you can imagine, children are involved, so it's never nice. So this is your warning. So today, the story we tell is a gruesome and very disturbing story of Amelia Dyer. So Amelia Dyer was born in Bristol, England, in 1837. In her early years, she worked as a nurse, gaining the trust of desperate and vulnerable young women who found themselves pregnant and without support. As societal norms of the time deemed unwed motherhood scandalous and shameful, many women sought help from individuals like Amelia who promised to provide care for their babies and find them loving homes. This is insane because obviously we live in 2023 where times have progressed so much since then, but there was actually an act called the Poor Law Amendment Act of 1834 that made it so that fathers of illegitimate children were not obligated by law to support their children financially, leaving many women without options. For a fee, baby farmers, that's what they were called, would adopt the unwanted children. They operated under the rule that the child would be taken care of. This may seem bizarre to us, obviously, living in the times that we do. However, it was very common back in the 1800s. So Amelia's preferred practice was to advertise to adopt or nurse a baby in return for an upfront fee and suitable clothing for the children. In her advertisements and meetings with clients, she assured them that she would be respectable. She was a respectable married, although she wasn't married because her and her husband had actually separated, and that she would provide a safe and loving home for the child. There is a photo that I've got of like a cutout of the newspaper with these advertisements. Excuse me. And it says, married couple with no family would adopt healthy child, nice country home, terms £10, Harding, care of ships, letters exchange, Stoke Croft, Bristol. So these are taken, and we'll post these on our Instagram so that you can see. But yeah, £10, obviously that was a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that was probably a lot of money back then.
Back in the 1800s, yeah.
Yeah. But you just can't even imagine that, can you?
It's crazy to me that it ever was a thing that just because you weren't married to somebody, could keep your baby.
I know, right? And that it was actually a law that men didn't have to pay just because you weren't married.
Always
Meaning
side
that the
with the men.
woman... Yeah,
They're the ones that have done the wrong.
Well, times have progressed, haven't they, when it's not so man's world kind of thing. Unfortunately, Amelia was not interested in finding loving homes for these innocent infants. She saw them as a means to an end. She saw them as nothing more than a business move. She adopted a heartless business model known as baby farming, where she would charge desperate mothers a fee for her services, supposedly ensuring a safe and bright future for their offspring. Tragically, instead of providing loving care, Amelia subjected these innocent babies to unimaginable horror. Under her care, the babies were subjected to malnourishment, neglect, and even abuse. This was a woman that so many vulnerable mothers had put their trust into, left their newborn babies with. This lady must have been, to them, an angel, which made an unbearable decision easier with the promise that their babies would be looked after. So, as mentioned before, Amelia started to abuse these little babies and put them through the worst you can imagine. Because of these severe neglect and abuse, a lot of the babies were sadly dying whilst in Amelia's care. This is sad, isn't it? You can't even imagine that people would do this.
I just think no matter how desperate you are for money or how much you want to make yourself better, how you could ever feel able to use babies as your pawns or subject babies to abuse to be able to make more money, it's just beyond me.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because you're talking to two mothers and a midwife who
Yeah.
your sole job is to protect babies and make sure that they are healthy, well, and looked after. And it's just wild because this is the opposite of everything that we know in our heart.
It takes a real evil person, I think, to be able to do that to a baby.
So as the death toll begins to rise, suspicions were raised about the high mortality rate under Amelia Dyer's care. Alarm bells were raised and the authorities were concerned, and they decided to launch an investigation. So in 1896, they made a horrifying discovery that would shock the nation. Evidence gathered from witnesses and information telegraphed by Bristol police painted a deeply sinister picture of Amelia's activities. Detective Constable Anderson and Sergeant James of Reading Borough Police placed her house under surveillance. Amelia would flee immediately if she ever became suspicious, so the investigators had to come up with another plan, and they had to get a little bit more creative. The officers decided to send a woman as a decoy to inquire about Amelia's services and arrange a meeting. They were hoping that this would be their best shot at getting the information they needed. So this actually helped investigators to place Amelia at an address at a certain day and time to arrange an arrest and avoid her fleeing again. The plan worked. On the day the decoy had arranged to meet Amelia, the investigators would instead show up at the door. Detective Constable Anderson and Sergeant James arrested her and charged her with murder. Amelia's son-in-law, Arthur Palmer, was also arrested and charged as an accessory. Amelia lived in many houses, as we mentioned before. Any suspicion raised, she would flee, and in the house on Potter's Lane in Reading, authorities found the bodies of several infants hidden in various locations throughout the property. The extent of Amelia's crime sent shockwaves through the community, and the press named her the Ogress of Reading. Ogress? Is that the word? During April, the Thames was searched and 6 more babies were discovered. However, inquiries from mothers, witnesses, and evidence found in Dyer's home, including letters and mountains of baby clothes, shows that there must have been many more murdered. At the inquest into the deaths in Reading in early May, no evidence was found that Arthur Palmer had acted as Amelia's accomplice. Arthur Palmer was discharged as a result of a confession written by Amelia in Reading prison a few days earlier. Her brief imprisonment there may have coincided with that of Oscar Wilde.
Oh,
Just a little fun fact there, in case you're
Modern
unaware of who.
times.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I've heard the name, but I don't actually know it. I didn't know who he was. So, in case you guys are unaware of who Oscar Wilde is, so he was an Irish playwright, novelist, essayist, and poet. He was born in 1856 and was known for breaking society norms, so being super flamboyant and witty. In 1895, Oscar was convicted of gross indecency for his homosexual relationship, which were considered illegal under the laws of Victorian England. So obviously back then, it wasn't legal. So Wilde served his sentence at two different prisons, first at Newgate Prison and then at Reading. So just a little interesting fact for you. Let's get back to the story. So the confession letter that Amelia had written while she was in prison stated that neither her daughter nor her son-in-law were ever involved in the killings. Again, we can post this on our Instagram, but it says, to Chief Superintendent of Police. Sir, will you kindly grant me the favour of presenting this to the magistrates on Saturday the 18th instant? I have made this statement out, for I may not have the opportunity. Then I must relieve my mind. I do know and I feel my days are numbered on this earth, but I do feel it is an awful thing drawing innocent people into trouble. I do know I shall. This is really hard to read, I'm not going to lie, guys.
It's like old English.
Yeah. I shall have to answer before my Maker on heaven for this awful crime I have committed. But as God Almighty and Judge in heaven as on earth, neither my daughter Mary Ann Palmer or her husband Arthur Ernest Palmer, I do most solemnly declare neither of them had anything at all to do with it. They never knew I contemplated doing such a thing until it was too late. And speaking on the truth and nothing but the truth, as I hope to be forgiven, I myself and I alone must stand before the Maker in heaven to give an answer for it all. Witness my hand, Amelia Dyer.
So, one, I think it's crazy that she's put in her letter that she doesn't want to draw innocent people in. Like, all of the babies that she killed weren't innocent. So,
Right.
sorry, why is she worried about that? Literally everything she's done has been harming innocent
people. And then it's not even the babies, but the babies' parents.
That and
family.
The guilt they must carry when they genuinely thought they were doing what was best for their child is just horrendous. They just must have felt awful. But two, she's a mum herself. I don't understand.
When I learned that, I was like,
what? Like, then you must understand a mother's love. Like, not that I'm saying that people who haven't had children are more likely to kill babies, but I just genuinely feel like if you've had your own child and somebody else is turning over their own child to you in what they think is the best, like, how can you do that?
Yeah, you should have, like, I feel like you can relate, sympathise.
100%. Like, I can't even watch a film where a child dies without thinking of my own children and becoming really upset. So
yeah, and like the actual like heartache, panic and fear and anxiety that you get like when you're watching a film and the child goes missing or something like that, you actually like can't breathe until they're found. It's like horrible. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't understand it myself. I would say that there just had to be something not right, not well about this woman.
Yeah.
Of course.
100%. Because there's no way you can, there's just no way. Like, my brain can't comprehend it, but something wrong there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. So as the investigation unfolded, more and more gruesome details came to light. It was revealed that Amelia had been operating her baby farming scheme for over 2 decades, resulting in the deaths of an estimated, you ready? 300 to 400 innocent children.
Oh my gosh. That is so many. Oh.
And so many of those innocent children that she did kill, they never would have got like any closure, because I think there was only a certain amount of bodies found, and not all of them. How could they find all of them?
No.
So on May the 22nd, 1896, Amelia was brought to trial facing charges of murder. The courtroom was filled with horrified spectators eager to see justice served for the countless innocent lives lost, and her family and associates testified at her trial that they had also been growing suspicious and uneasy about her activities, and it emerged that Amelia had narrowly escaped discovery on several occasions. I think if you are suspecting that your family member is doing something like that, I'm sorry, but you talk to someone about it, no?
100%. There's just some things that you can't turn a blind eye to, and this is definitely one of them.
No, of course, like, obviously, like, if I knew that you maybe stole something from the shop, I'd be like, okay, like, you're my sister, I'll cover for you. But I think
Killing
taking
babies?
babies' lives,
Yeah.
that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
So, from a modern point of view, it seems so crazy to think that Amelia's clients and those close to her did not realise the truth, and astonishing that she escaped detection for so long. However, in the Victorian era, the trade in babies was rarely regulated, and the childhood death rate was relatively high. Amelia claims that the children had died of natural causes, moved to other homes, or had been returned to their mothers. It could have well seemed believable. The evidence against her was overwhelming, leaving no doubt about her guilt. She later admitted killing one of them the same day that he or she was placed in her care. Amelia strangled the infants, always with white tape, wrapped their bodies in paper packages and bags, and dumped them in rivers. So this now makes sense as to why they were searching the Thames, because she dumped them in rivers. Vital evidence linking a body to Dyer through one of these aliases and addresses was finally to prove her undoing. On 30th of March 1896, a package was found in the Thames by a barge man. I don't know what this is.
Well, a barge is like a boat, isn't it? I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And found it contained a body of a baby girl, later identified as Helena Fry. Reading Borough Police Chief Constable George Tousley immediately set his small detective force to work. Detective Constable Anderson, making a microscopic analysis of the wrapping paper that had been surrounding the body, discovered a faintly written name and address. This evidence eventually led to the detective to the Reading home of Amelia Dyer.
Oh my gosh. So
I know, how crazy is
Yeah.
that as well. Like, we're talking about so long ago, and obviously everything has progressed in terms of like DNA and like how they do
analysis
things
all
and stuff.
Yeah.
So that must have been so hard, but such a win for them.
Yeah.
So Amelia had confessed to the killings but pleaded insanity at her Old Bailey trial. Her behaviour in custody had included displays of religious practice, included hymn singing and sermonizing to the prisoners. She reportedly carried a hymn book throughout the trial. The jury took a matter of minutes to find Amelia guilty of murder and her plea of insanity not proven. Amelia Dyer was sentenced to death by hanging and went to the gallows at Newgate Prison on June 1996. She was the first woman since 1856 to be executed. The legacy of Amelia Dyer continues to haunt the world, serving as a grim reminder of the depths of human depravity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so bad. Like, I write these things and I'm like, yeah, and then I'm like,
And then you go to say it and you're like, okay.
And the importance of protecting the most vulnerable members of society. So it says, I found something else as well, which I thought was quite interesting. So in the years following the Dyer case, a number of acts of Parliament, including the Infant Life Protection Act 1897 and the Children's Act 1908 were passed. These included requirements that local authorities must be notified with full details and within 48 hours of any change of custody or death of a child under 7. Rules surrounding adoption and fostering were strengthened considerably, and baby farming became a thing of the past. So although what she did was awful, there was
Brought some good from it.
a lot that came from it, which obviously needed to happen, because I can't even believe that baby farming was a thing. I didn't know.
It's mad, isn't it, when you think back at like some of the things that used to happen and the incidences that occurred that made those changes happen, and now we think like, well, I can't believe that was ever allowed. But I guess until an incident has occurred, it's probably not something you think about, is it? Because like I say,
just
baby farming, like who would think of that?
Yeah, just selling a baby. Like, to adopt now or foster a child now, you have to go through so much, and it's obviously because of stuff like this. Like, this is probably where it started, and then it's progressed into other different things, which has then made now it's so difficult, which is obviously a good thing, because you have to be fully vetted to make sure you are up to.
And again, which is a good thing, because even though most people want to adopt a child out of love or because they really want a child in their life, there will still be some people out there who don't have good intentions.
Yeah, of course, because this is in the 1800s, but we still talk about like crime cases in 2021, 22, 23, and there are still a lot of crime going on. So there are still bad people out there, but that was today's one, and I didn't want to go into too much detail. I feel like I touched on it enough, but not